Hey everyone, it's Steve from the garden. This will be my early May garden tour. Now early May is kind of a little bit of a transition period as I got some things growing outside, but a lot of things are inside or in the process of being hardened off. But let's get started. So this is a tray of the last of the cool season and the beginning of the warm season plus some sunflowers. So these are the broccolis that are all different dates of maturity. We got the zucchinis. Look how big these are getting already. Now, I did reseed like the red sage, and we now got some of those coming up. Still don't really have anything for the purple cone flowers, but that's just how it goes sometimes. That seed's a little bit older, so we probably just won't get anything on those. And the sunflowers, they're already getting quite big. These are the mammoths, so they'll get the tallest for sure. Here we got the tray of zinnias. They have all really come up very nicely now. Now some of the cells that didn't germinate originally and I reseeded, some of those now have seedlings coming up. So that's looking good. This is the hydroponic lettuce. Now after I harvest all these, that'll be it for the hydroponic lettuce until fall comes around. But you can see like the leaf lettuce is growing out real nicely. The romaine is growing real nicely. And like this one, I allowed to kind of like multiple plants get in there. But they'll be fine. I'll just harvest it like a leaf lettuce. And this one's getting to a point where it's heading up. Next up is the tomatoes. You know, even though I started these later than I would normally start them, they've still gotten quite tall. So I actually put them down here in the basement to slow down their growth a little bit because I still have a couple of weeks before I can plant them out. Here's a look from another angle. So that's all the tomatoes for this year. Here's the seed starting area. So we got the sweet corn and some lettuce and broccoli in there. Then in this area we got spinach with some more lettuce and broccoli. That's a little bit further along. We got oregano, basil, some thyme, one of the tomato plants that's a little bit smaller. And we move on to the marigolds and poppies. We got broccolis and some red cabbage. Over here I got sweet potatoes where I'm growing out the slips. This is the ginger roots. And then in here, this is like a combination. So we got peppers and mixed in here, which it's not easy to tell, is the more mature basil. So all the peppers are sitting here, and you can even see here I have a pepper forming. This is the potato row. And I got my first potato plants are starting to come up. Right here. Then we got all the garlic plants. Now, the order it goes to is it's Chestnut Red, Metechi, and Music. So the Music, they produce probably the largest bulbs overall, and those plants are currently the largest they're growing. But all these will get pretty good size, and I think they're actually probably a little ahead of last year. So here, this is spinach and baby bok choy. Now, I have a couple of the Spanish sweet onions here that I'm trying out this year. And this is a candy onion that started growing, so I put it in there to see what kind of seed head I get from it. Now over here, this is all the onions. So on the left is the candy, and on the right is the Patterson. So we've had fairly cool weather for the most part since I planted these. And the plants, I mean, they're starting to come along, and the weather now is turning where it's definitely going to be warm. So I expect these will really start to pop with growth. And you can see, like, I got some alfalfa pellets I put down here. They act as like a nitrogen fertilizer. And I also recently fertilized them with blood meal in between the rows. And you can also see that on some of these beds I got my drip irrigation has started. Although it's not hooked up to anything yet, I'm just getting everything laid out. Here the raspberries are all coming alive, and you can see the new canes are starting to come up. But the old canes, you know, they're all starting to leaf out. And I usually get raspberries in July. And here's the strawberry bed. The strawberries are coming up. Now I have some weeds I gotta get taken care of, get those pulled out. And you can see I got some garlic right here through the center. This is just store-bought garlic that had started sprouting, and I planted it last year. I never harvested it. So that's why you start seeing like multiple stalks coming up. And I just put garlic in there as like a pest deterrent. This bed contains spring wheat. Now I was hoping maybe I would get a good stand of wheat and I could actually harvest some of it and then use whatever I cut down after harvest to use as straw. And the germination's been kind of spotty. So I don't know how much I'll actually get out of it, but either way, I'm putting wheat in here to help build the soil up and to get the deep roots that the wheat has down into the soil to help break it up. And this is all the lettuce I've got going so far outside. So I did come through and harvest a lot of the outer leaves from these plants. You can see right here where you can see where I pulled some out. And then you got the next succession of lettuce already growing with an intermediate one there in the back. So over here we got our peas that we started. So the smaller ones in the front, these are the ones we direct seeded. And the ones here on the back side are the ones we used with the gutter system. Some of these are starting to climb. And if you look over there on the back side, I have like one tall one that's making its way and another one that's just kind of getting going with getting up there. And then the direct seeded ones. This is my oregano. Now I did start more oregano this year that I'm going to be putting into a different bed all by itself. And I'll cover that in a separate video. So a lot of this oregano, I need to do a good cutting on it and get it dried out. And then the same will take place with this thyme that's growing. It'll also go on that same bed. On the back side, I got my strawberries and asparagus growing. I did get a couple asparagus spears I harvested, but this is like the third year, so I'm not going to harvest very many. I only got a few just so I could sample it after waiting for 3 years. But like these spears are now coming up more. And this variety of strawberry is called Shuksan. It's a June bearing. I also noticed my pink lady apple tree is now really starting to blossom. Now I got a couple apples last year, but I mean just like 3 of them. And this year you can just see all the blossoms on this tree right now. So once this actually starts to fruit, I'll have to thin that out so it doesn't overwhelm this little tree. But that'll be nice to get some apples off of this after waiting for several years. My mature apple is also starting to bloom. Now I have no idea what variety of apple tree this is, but I call it the sweet tart apple because it's sweet when you bite into it and has a little bit of a tart finish. Well, I hope you enjoyed coming along my garden tour today. It is very early in May, so there's lots of plants and stuff that still need to be planted out. And the weather is looking like I might be able to get some things out a little bit earlier than normal. So keep a look for that in the future videos. Until next time, I hope you enjoyed, got something out of this, and we'll see you on the next one.